stories like crazy. Because everyone has mental health, and everyone has a story. And sometimes they're crazy. Join Lori Lane Murphy and me, Adriana Prosser, as we talk about dealing with, struggling with, and managing mental health with storytellers that share their true life story. Get in the conversation and talk with us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe on SoundCloud and iTunes. Now, let's smash some stigma. This week, we're joined by Nina of Keogh, an artist, a performer, and a puppeteer. And she wants to discuss everyday anxieties. And the word that I think we've all banned from our Twitter feed, Trump. Let's listen to her story.
Well, I thought today I would like to talk about the impact that Donald Trump is having on a lot of us. I know nobody wants to hear his name at this point anymore, but I just realized like a lot of us are almost addicted to watching this man and listening to him and waiting for the next shoe to drop. And I was trying to figure out why is this, because I feel like I'm getting kind of distressed. I feel like I've lost interest in being creative or productive, and I just have I'm streaming the news, and it seems to be a constant thing where I wake up in the morning and I've got to turn it on. Okay, what has he done? And I started to realize that it was kind of ruining my life, and so I thought, okay, what is it about this guy? And I realized that he is a malignant narcissist. He is a bully. And I think for a lot of us, we have some kind of a masochistic kind of a thing about watching this and hoping that he'll get his comeuppance. I think there's that constant sort of, okay, he's just said this or he's just done this. Now he's really going to get nailed, right? And of course he doesn't. He's like Teflon Trump. It's just really quite amazing. And I guess having grown up with a parent who had narcissistic personality disorder, something I didn't realize until really after she had died, and somebody gave me a book called Trapped in the Mirror, which is a wonderful book. It was a book about my parent. It could have had her picture in it. It was just everything that I read about. It was her profile, and somehow it made me feel better, and it made me feel a little more, gave me more empathy or sympathy for why she was that way. And I realized that she had, her parents had gone on some 2-year tour when she was 2 years old, and so she didn't have a mother figure. I think there was a housekeeper or something. And so my mom really grew up never growing up. Mm-hmm. And so she was always saying, oh, look what I did. Look at this sculpture I made. Look at this. Look at me. Because she'd never had that. Mm-hmm. And of course, I grew up with her kind of being the child as well in our family. And I have 2 brothers. And we still, the 3 of us have gotten together, and we always seem to talk about her. It's a very interesting kind of thing, how it's very hard to detach from somebody like that. And I think there's always some kid in the family who really ends up being the scapegoat. And I've talked to a lot of people who say that's true of me and my brothers or sisters or whatever. I was the one who ended up being that person who always stood by, let's say, her. And I felt like if I didn't, she might die, or she might, something might happen to her. Mm-hmm. So there was this thing about not being able to detach from that person and be your own person. Mm-hmm. And so I'm, 71, and I still have those feelings. It takes a long time, if ever, to really get over that and step away and become your own person. And it's like a codependency, I think. And so I guess when I see Trump, talking and it's all about him, and then when somebody says, oh, you did something wrong, he then doubles down and he makes the other person try and feel guilty, and it's, wow, this was my life, Yeah, and I know a lot of people will relate to this story. So I guess, the thing is I'm just trying not to watch so much of him. But it is intriguing, and I keep saying, okay, well, from a sociological point of view or psychological point of view, it's really fascinating to watch this man, and it's just unbelievable. It's jaw-dropping, everything he says. He has no social skills. It's really interesting. It's like he has absolutely no awareness of anyone around him, whether it's his wife who keeps popping up. I don't know why, him walking up in the rain onto the plane, and she's staggering behind him, and he's got the umbrella over himself, or whatever it is, pushing other very important leaders aside so he can be at the front of the picture, denying, I think he's sort of getting into Alex Jones territory when he says, no, 3,000 people didn't die in Puerto Rico, even faced with the facts and it's all there. And so, and I remember at one point I was trying to take control of my life. My mother and I were in my car, and we were driving along the 401. We had a good ways to go, and I thought, okay, I've got to tell her something. I've got to tell her that I need to be my own person. And I was in my 50s, early 50s, and I said to her, Mom, I have to tell you something. I have my own home, and when you come in and you say you don't like where I put the vase, and you take it and you move it somewhere else, it does something to me. It hits me in my heart, that you don't like what I did. You don't approve of what I did, and I feel like you never did approve of what I did. And so I said this to her. I thought, she can't escape. She's sitting in the car with me, and I'm going to just say, okay, let's have a conversation about this, finally, because I had felt always controlled and all my life. And so I said this to her in a very kind way. I said, I used the I word. I didn't say you. I really need to be able to do my own things and have you accept them, even if you don't approve, but to not try and change them or change me. She started to get all weepy, and this is where the doubling down thing comes. Well, I tried to be the best mother I could, and she's crying and crying, and I thought, okay, I could say, oh, it's okay, and I decided to take a different tack, and I said, stop it, we are going to have an adult conversation here.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you know what she did? She cried even more.
Yes.
And doubling down on the crying, I call it.
Just complete denial. We're not doing this.
No. And I realized that she was just too fragile. And in a way, I feel like Trump is this fragile little person inside who puts out this big, heavy-duty bully kind of, visage to keep people away. And it doesn't always work. And I just think the guy is being backed into a corner like a rat. And I just think this is kind of dangerous, because I think people like that, they will not go down easily, No. And I do feel like a lot of people are going to be hurt as he does go down, and he will do whatever he can. He's already, I do think people have died already because of him. I think a lot of people feel that way from his negligence and so on. But so I guess that's what I'm feeling these days, and it's been going on for over a year now, hasn't it? That he's been doing this and in office, and so it's sort of a daily reminder, in a sense, of what I grew up with, and probably it would be healthier if I did not Watch. I don't know. I keep thinking, will I become desensitized? Maybe I'll,
Or this is the day that he gets his comeuppance. Like, you're waiting
and you'll
for
miss
it.
it.
Yes, yeah.
You're waiting for that release.
Waiting for it, yes.
And it's just so. It sounds a little bit like an anxiety as well. Like I empathize with this a lot. So to be a complete solipsistic narcissist right now myself, I'm going to tell you my Trump story.
Okay.
My Trump story happens in this very room when it went through that, yes, he is the president.
Yes.
And I started having the most ridiculously intense panic attack of probably my life.
Yeah.
And it was like right there, I doubled over and I started heaving. And I'm starting to black out. And Jason, my partner, comes over and he puts his hand on my back and he's like, what can I do? Because this isn't the first panic attack he's seen, but this one is different.
Yeah.
It's a little intense. And I, in my in my heaving, I can laugh about it now, but I was like, I can't be a pilot. And Jason's like, what now?
A pilot.
Why are we talking about being a pilot? And I was just like, he's going to make World War III. And in that moment, that was all my anxiety could see, because I'm feeling like what you're feeling, but I felt it like a smack. Like it was just all of that realization, this epiphany of we're all gonna die.
And it was definitive.
It was absolutely definitive, because my anxiety had taken hold of me and it convinced me that we were all gonna die.
Yes.
And I could not breathe. I couldn't see past it. And Jason, for like, God bless him, he probably laughed, because I do now too, of just how ridiculous that statement. But at the same time, there was a kernel of truth.
Well, yeah, it's very real in the moment.
Yeah.
And the good thing is that we can laugh about these things later on,
But
because
I still live with that anxiety now. Like what you're saying, every day I'm watching him.
Every day. Yeah. I know. I felt I didn't have that same, extreme response you had, but I definitely had a response like everybody. Oh my God. Is this real? Because we all saw who this guy was well before he became president. And I had thought for years that he was just a creepy guy, and that he didn't have any empathy. You could just see it. And
I almost think, but there nobody was probably more surprised than he was that he won.
Yeah.
And they didn't expect it. But, I'm looking at this a little bit differently. I hear what you're both saying about, the impact of him being elected. But what I find more intriguing and powerful when I listen to you, and I always do, Nina, whenever you tell me stories about your childhood, because you've told me a few.
Yeah.
I go right to that, and I think, so the kind of offshoot impact this man has, because he doesn't care about the obvious stuff. We know that, right? I don't get 3,000 people in Puerto Rico. Who cares?
Yeah.
Think about all the millions of people that are feeling what you're feeling about reflecting back on painful times in their lives. Yeah. Right? Like, so there's that offshoot, and you're thinking, oh my God. And I can imagine you tuning into all this stuff and thinking, this is reminding me of someone. Who is this? Oh shit.
Yeah.
Right? Because I remember you've told me before in previous conversations that, like, you always had to build your mom up. Like, you always, and then you would be doing your thing, and it was like, don't tell me, Nina, anything of your good stuff. Let's go over to me, like back to me. And and like you said, and you did. You're like, okay, you're my mom, and so for me, just like listening to that's the story, is like how it then unleashed. Like you said, you're 71. You're like, I still think of my mom as this narcissist. Like, think of the power she still has.
The power, yeah. It's not as great, of course.
Of course not,
but it, it still sits on your shoulder. And I think that, I think a good word to use for Trump is trigger.
Yeah.
I think he triggers the anxiety and fear in many of us who have been bullied, and so, and I think that's not a bad word for it. And I was also reading the other day that psychologists are saying that a lot of people are coming to them and saying they are having anxiety, and his name is coming up a lot.
I believe it.
So I thought that was really interesting. I'm not alone.
No word of a lie. I went back to therapy because of that panic attack. So
Wow.
he triggered me to go back into like full-time therapy.
Yeah.
This is how monumentally terrifying this person is.
Yes, the damage is being done, and I like I didn't mean to just talk about because we're kind of venting now, and here we are, but I think it's just so sad that when he ultimately gets impeached or whatever happens to him, that the damage is done.
Yeah.
It's damage that can't be undone.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think so many people have been set back and regressed, because I don't think, have we ever seen anybody like this in our lives? I mean,
because it's almost but it's almost like this has to be a joke. That's what I keep thinking every time I tune into something, or if Paul and I are watching, whatever, and that I automatically go to, he didn't just say that. Yeah. Like that, this is,
you're incredulous.
I am incredulous, and this is a giant prank.
This is an SNL skit.
Totally.
We're all gonna laugh.
We wish.
We wish, exactly. But and that's the thing, is that this is how, if somebody truly is a narcissist, if you give them all this power, you give any like that kind of power, like look at the havoc that he's wreaking, and he does, like, you could look him right in the eye and say, this is what's happening. Either it didn't, or I don't care,
or it's someone else's fault.
Yeah, and it's all like fake news, right. And you're like, wow.
I know this whole thing with the fake news. It's like he's created this alternate reality.
Yes.
It feels like we're living in the Twilight Zone.
Yes.
When you feel like you're living in the Twilight Zone, you feel like you're either on some bad drug or you're having a nervous breakdown or something. And it's just like everything that he started with this fake news thing. I mean, in his base, we talk about drinking the Kool-Aid, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's amazing that that he's down to this solid group who doesn't matter what he does, they will follow him. Yes. And it's really frightening to think that those people are the people who brought him into power and continue to just, idolize him. It's like a cult.
It really is.
Yeah, it is. That's a perfect way to put it.
But the thing that bothered me a lot from what you said is that you stopped creating. That he took your creative energy, like that the energy that he's sucking from you with this anxiety.
Right out of,
you're not creating. So have you been able to find a way to self-care and get back to your creative self?
Yeah, I had a chat with a good friend of mine the other day, and I just said, look, I'm really kind of depressed and distressed, and my life has taken a big change anyway because I had a partner and I don't, and then on top of it, this is all happening, and I said, I don't like feeling this way. It's and I'm not chronically depressed at all. I will get sort of depressed for a day, and then later on, something might happen or somebody will call, and boom, I come out of it. Yeah, so I feel lucky that way. But I said, there's something happening every day. I can't get to my art table, where I'm in the process of creating 7 pieces right now. They're all sitting there, unfinished, and I seem to, turn on the TV and sit there and watch and get stuck. And then 3 hours later, you go, oh shit, like I haven't done anything. I took my dog out and fed her. And now I did my duty. So now I can sit and watch, and it's like, okay. Even now I'm sitting here and I didn't want to leave the TV. I'm watching the floods in Carolina.
Yeah.
And but are they going to cut to what Donald is saying?
Wow.
It's like the Stockholm syndrome, eh?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Where you do feel
you're so
like you're
attached
captive.
to him, but you're reviled by him at the same time, right?
You're captive. So it's I had to make an effort to, when I got up in the morning, not to just turn my phone on and look
scrolling
at Google News right away, and took a really concerted effort to do that. Say, okay, I'm going to get up. I'm going to put some jazz on. I'm not going to put on the news. I'm going to have my coffee, da-da-da.
Well, so let me ask you, did you feel better doing that, or did that make you anxious? Because you were out of the loop for a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I did this for a few days. Not that I didn't watch it all, but I just didn't start my day. It's like when I used to be a chain smoker in the 70s. And, you wake up and before you do anything, you have to have that cigarette in hand before you go and pee or answer the phone or whatever. It's like...
It's a part of your routine.
It's part of your routine, but it's also an addiction, So,
Yeah.
And you don't like to think that you're addicted to, people say, oh, I'm a news junkie. Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? Are you addicted to watching the news and everything that, some people are like that, I think. I wonder how anxious they are. They're just watching everything, reading everything. But anyway, so that's kind of...
But this is something that we as a society haven't necessarily been able to really unpack. FOMO is something that millennials created, the fear of missing out, plus the fact that now we live in a hyper education, like a hyper knowledge culture where we can access news wherever, whenever.
Yes.
You said like on your phone, like you wake up, you can just scroll your phone.
Yeah.
And like, how do it sounds like you're searching for balance. And I'm sure, I know I am, like most all of us are trying to learn what that balance is of how do I stay informed and stay as an active civilian in my culture, my society, so that somebody doesn't go, didn't you hear blah, blah, blah happen? And you're like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm a bad person. Or that, politics and that we need to stay in the loop so that we can, write our MPPs and whatever. And it's this constant barrage of just look at Twitter. It's constant.
It's constant. The beast needs to be fed.
That's it.
That's it. It's a beast.
It is. It's all, the social media is a beast, and we are...
And it
we
needs an
are
audience.
the beast too. We need to be fed, right? So there's so much input. It's overwhelming. And for a little experiment I did one day, I went on in the morning, and I think it was 6 hours. I was able to read news stories, different stories, see the dodo videos of every animal with every baby, And I thought, my God, you could almost be sentenced to life in jail if you had your phone and you could watch, and that's all you would do. You could watch
and you
forever
and
ever.
See, like a repetition, like you just went and it was just
no repetition.
Go.
Just if you read your Facebook feed, by the time you've sort of gotten down to, okay, that I've read that one before, refresh, boom. All new. Wow. You could sit there hour after hour after hour and refresh and refresh and refresh. So it's...
And a lot of people don't talk about that addiction. Like they talk about cigarettes are bad for you.
Right.
Sugar is bad for you and all of this stuff and like the things that are the bad. But this is
a psychological...
right. It's draining your energy. It's taking your creativity. And it is bad for you.
Yeah.
And I wonder if he's banking on that. You know what I mean? If we talk about Ford. Oh, sorry, we're talking about. But you just wonder, or maybe he's not that smart. What do you think?
I don't think he's that smart.
Yeah,
really?
His team might be leveraging that for sure.
You know what I mean?
His team might, but honestly,
he's not.
He's so base. He goes off book. I don't think it matters that he has a team. They write stuff out for him. He's got his little idiot. Used to call them idiot cards. They're called teleprompters now. And, he's reading. He cannot help himself. He has to go off script. And so it doesn't matter that he has a team. I truly feel that he has no awareness. He's not smart enough to have a plan. I think he gets verbal diarrhea. Listen to him. He's only got about 40 words in his vocabulary.
You're right.
And, one of them may have 3 syllables. Tremendous. But I feel like he just speaks. And
just great.
Whatever
Everything
comes out, right.
Great.
It just keeps coming out. It's mindless. It doesn't,
narcissistic, right?
Exactly. Look at me. Or that's the other thing is, it's
Don't
always.
worry, it's me. I'll get through it.
Yeah. And I got A+. I was graded A+ on this, A+ on that. And everything he says is just like, I grew up hearing this, and it's just, it is masochistic.
It is.
I really kind of think it is.
Like, just right here, you grew up hearing this.
For the record, listeners, Lori has her hands on both sides of her face like Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, like,
in Home Alone, and she just wants to scream.
Yeah, just open up.
Painting that picture for you.
What did it for me was when you're talking about, like, no, it didn't happen, or somebody else's fault, or blah, blah, blah. What about, like, the thing that floored me is when he said that his doctor said he was in perfect health, and the doctor's like, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
But then that was one of those ones you talked about, like, today's the day. I really thought over a year ago that was going to be the day that people were going to go, you just bullshitted about your doctor. No, nothing.
No, he could have a smoking gun over the body, and he would say, that old expression, and he'd say, no, it wasn't me. Somebody else was here, and they put it in my hand. I mean, it's just that's this twilight zone that we're talking about, and I feel very destabilized.
Yes, that's a good word for it.
And other people have also said that that's what it does to them. And so, the people who are very grounded people, I'm not, I guess, one of them, and I may not be sitting with people who are like super grounded. I don't know. No, but
not grounded.
It's just that I think a lot of us who have, say, issues and anxiety issues and so on, are destabilized by what is going on there. And we would be better off not.
No, it is that we've all got like a baseline of not only just destabilization, but then also that that rocks your world, and then you're amped. Like that, all of us are so. I don't know if you've noticed. I take public transit, and I feel like everybody's amped. Like everybody's just ready for a fight.
Wow.
Not willing to be kind as a baseline because it's just I'm just so frustrated. I'm destabilized. All of my energy has been sucked already. Leave me alone. And like just everybody's really touchy, really anxious, and not in the way that I say like me, like that I need to have an anxiety attack, but that people are anxious and
when they're not when they're not looking down at their phones. And I take public transit all the time too, and I particularly like streetcars because I like being above ground. I'm not crazy about being underground,
right?
And so I people like me are always looking for an escape route. Okay. And so whether you're in a high rise like we're in, or you're in the subway, or you're in a store, or like where are the exit, not sort of super consciously. It's just that you have an awareness. It's sort of a hyper alert thing that I think people who've grown up with anxiety have this hyper alert thing happening. And so when I get on the streetcar or the subway, I notice most everybody has a phone or device that they're looking at. So I don't sense that amped up thing as much, but I have seen it. And I remember, I've been on the TTC a couple of times where I've seen things, and I'm one of these people who will step in. I can't.
Me too.
I cannot watch. I can't watch.
And thank goodness.
Somebody being bullied, or I saw somebody being bullied in a wheelchair. Well, God put you there for a reason,
Oh my God.
And then I said to her, "That's really inappropriate." And this person was, not quadriplegic, I guess. And I just thought, what a cruel thing to say.
Completely unnecessary.
And she had been kind of obnoxious with her loud phone calls anyway. And then I went over and I said that to her, and then she called me a racist. And it was just it broke my heart because I'm not at all. and so I just, that was a bit distressing, that you want to stand up for, and I don't care where you're from or
rude
anything.
Is rude.
I mean, rude is rude, and I will stand up for anybody who's being bullied. And I've gotten to the point now, I guess maybe I wouldn't have done this in my 30s, but now I just feel like I'm fearless. I walk down our alley at night, and you might see a whole gang of guys coming at you in the dark, and I say hi. I tend to say hi to people.
But what a great way to meet this anxiety head on in such a positive way.
That's kind of what's happened. And it's sort of, I don't know, it's evolved because I've always been very fearful. And I had been attacked when I was younger. I almost was killed with somebody with a knife.
Yeah,
And ever since then, that really was very difficult after that. It took me a long time where I wasn't looking over my shoulder constantly to see who's coming up behind me. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. And I think a lot of people have that. So, this is really kind of feels good. That
interesting new chapter that you're being this fearless advocate for others.
It feels good, Like, and when I get on the subway, if somebody's acting weird, I don't have a problem saying, "Are you okay?" Or I don't tend to walk away. I look for weapons, of course. I think we can't be stupid, Right. We've got to protect ourselves, but I feel like I would step in if somebody,
and that refuels you, because it sounds like that might be a new self-care for you. Is that it's just like, this is how I feel better. This is how I feel like I can be good in this situation.
And
I'm taking care of myself as I take care of that person.
Wow.
There.
Wow.
I took a self-defense course once, and I just remember my son was in, I don't know, I guess I was about 42 or something, and took a self-defense course in my kid's public school. And I remember the guy saying, "Okay, you've all got children. If you saw your child being bullied or attacked, what would you do? Mm-hmm. You'd feel you could kill somebody to protect your child."
Yes.
That's what I think mums are capable of doing, and dads too. But
yes.
And he said, so think of yourself as that child. Oh. Protect your child, and think of yourself that way, that you are important, like your own child. You are important in your child inside you that's afraid. You've got to protect that. And so he was trying to give us the psychological strength to deal with whatever might happen to you. And he said, it's not all about physical strength and the fact that, you could do this to somebody's Adam's apple and kill them in one blow. You've got to have the mental strength to not be afraid to do it, right? And
and people can sense that, because like your example about going down the alley. Yeah. Let's say, for the sake of argument, they were like, let's take this lady's purse. There's something about this woman just walking. Hey. Oh, I don't.
When you walk with purpose.
You walk with purpose, and that's it. That's one of the things.
And acknowledgement.
Right? And that's one of the things that I think people don't realize. If you, it's that fake it till you make it thing too. But if you feel, that you're taking up space, and then the other flip side to that is, or she's just crazy, so we're not going to mess with her. Right? One or the other. She's super brave or nuts.
I don't care what they
I don't care, whatever. But I think that's an amazing thing that, I'm thinking about that a lot now, and I'll be thinking about that when I go home, is that I live in the suburbs, and I hate to say it, but we live in a townhouse complex. It's the people that you see every day walking their dogs. Right. Then I get in the car and go to the superstore. Then I get in the car and go to my son's school. So there's no alleys for me to walk down. Right. There's no. Now again, I don't ride the public the dirt.
It's a different lifestyle.
It really, really is. And so I would like to think that I would do that, presented with the opportunity. But it's just.
You don't know.
I don't know.
And I don't know if I would have done it when I was your age, Lori.
It's weird. And I'm just being completely honest, because I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, I've never actually in all of my life seen a bullying scene unfold in front of me.
Oh, it's like a movie,
right?
It's awful.
So I honestly don't know. Yeah. I've never seen it. Now, I come back to, if I saw my son being bullied, would I jump in? And then you run the risk of him then hating me forever because you don't jump in.
Depends whether he's 35 or not.
Well, exactly. Because you still would.
I would. You
totally would.
I would jump in to protect Matt.
But it totally. And Jazz is 16, and he's, don't ever, I don't even know that he'd tell me. But anyway, back to the conversation at hand of you, both of you stepping in at various times, and I know you have, because we've talked about it, and you will continue. I've never seen something unfold in front of me, so I hope that I have the courage.
But I feel like you do, because you have the empathy, and I think because that mama bear drive, I do believe that people who have been in the swamp and can recognize somebody else going through a swamp, to be like, excuse me, no.
You know what I think would happen, though, truly? Because it doesn't happen in my world, just by geography, it would be so shocking to see. Not that it doesn't happen. So it would probably break my heart.
It does. It's like a movie. You're watching it and you're like, this isn't happening.
They're not really doing this. Yeah.
I think especially if you saw a child being bullied, it's a different feeling than seeing one of your peer group being bullied, unless you're old like me and you see an old lady being bullied. But I got to tell you this funny story. It just reminded me of getting involved. So I'm walking along the Danforth at one point, and I see a crowd of young boys standing around a Mini Cooper. Mm-hmm. And I used to have a Mini Cooper, and it's a fabulous little car. Anyway, and they're all kind of bent over, and I go over, and I'm in Greektown, and I go over and I go, guys, what are you doing? And so here's this guy. He's got one of the caps off the tire, right? Off the tire.
Cotton, yeah.
And I just like, what are they doing? Why would they even be taking the cap? What's the thrill of taking a cap off the tire? And I said, come on, guys. I said, this isn't right. This is somebody's car. So they all started to walk away, and I'm standing there with the cap. So I lean down and I start putting the cap on the tire. Two guys come running out of the local, little Greek diner. I go, what the hell are you doing?
I mean, fair.
Are you stealing my car? And I go, no. I said a bunch of boys just took the cap off, and I said, do I look like I would be stealing?
That's hilarious.
Well, oh my God. So he said, where are they? Where are they? And so he took off running after them, and I just got out of there because it was like, I don't get thanked for stopping it. I get blamed for, taking the cap off.
That's
and it's
funny,
sorry, and he took off, and I thought, it's going to beat the hell out of these kids, and I just,
it's not the point.
And it's just like, oh, geez, and I thought, okay, it's another one of those instances where you go, should I get involved or not?
I think we just don't do it enough, and therefore people are not acclimatized to it, and they really.
But it's scary too, right?
It is scary. Yeah.
Right?
Ugh.
I think we have it a little bit, what is the word? I mean, it's different here because we live in Canada. Mm-hmm. I know that we have gone through our anxiety with guns as well, but in Trump's America, it's a different anxiety. I can only imagine.
It's terror. It's abject terror.
What their baseline is. Yeah, it is outright terror. I can only imagine what my friends in the South are having to deal with on their baseline, like how amped they are.
What about people who live in the Middle East?
Absolutely. Then ramp it up even further.
I mean, even further. Exactly.
And like, how do you live as an advocate and as somebody who wants to do something, but knowing this might be the place where I die?
Yeah.
Because I'm helping that girl not get raped. Yeah. Because I'm helping that little boy not get shanked. Like, it's just, how do you be an everyday superhero, but also take care of yourself? And I think this is a new phase for us that we have. I don't know, again, because we're all at very interesting different parts of our life right now. Mm-hmm. And that generationally, how do you unpack us looking back? And I know that Trump has been put up there with the Nazis. I'm going to bring them into this. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Mm-hmm. But that we can look back and be like, how did you let that happen?
Right.
How did you, how could you stand idly by? And it's like, people didn't. And it's difficult. Mm-hmm. And it's also very difficult for any of us to forgive ourselves, to look at that and say, this isn't safe.
Right.
And like, what can we do in a safe manner? And it's the please call somebody, please alert somebody if you feel like you can't insert themselves because you do see a knife. Like, what if those boys, turned around and like had a little butterfly knife, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do?
I don't know.
Right? And that's the thing is, like, I think we're in this new anxious part of our narrative instead of it being 50 years ago, 70 years ago.
When things were a lot more genteel, right?
Yes.
Like that,
or Gentile.
That Hitler didn't have a Twitter handle, right? Yeah. To let us know what his inner workings were.
Oh, can you imagine?
Well, I can
when you
see it now
when you go back and you look at the dictators, and we're looking at one now, I guess, but that dictator mindset. Imagine if they had were able to tweet. Stalin and Hitler and I know.
I think that's what I want to leave our listeners with is understanding that this is happening. This is happening. And for Nina, that we're hearing that the way that you're able to unpack it and live with it is that you are going out in the streets and you're actually calling it out to your safety level. And then I want listeners to, again, forgive themselves that they might not be able to be a Nina, right? They may not be able to stare down a group of guys and be like, hey, what are you doing? But that at least that they can maybe be like, we live in an age where everybody has a cell phone. I'm going to call somebody. I'm going to take a picture and send it to the police.
Send a picture if it's safe to send a picture. Some people that triggers them.
That's true. Or to walk into the storefront and be like, I don't feel safe, but this is happening outside. Can we be a group right now?
Yeah.
And that also that if our listeners are watching Trump or mini Trump at home, and that they too might be addicted to the time feed and feeling the FOMO, that they too can maybe be like, I need to shut this down for a bit.
Yeah.
I need to unplug for a bit. Maybe not completely. I've seen those people who can do it completely, and I'm like, I don't know who you crazies are.
I know somebody who went off Facebook for a year.
What?
I don't know how he's doing it.
I don't understand.
He's not doing it. I mean, he's just,
I don't get it.
I don't.
But that, like, where is the line for you? And that it is a line for you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and that it's not, it is very personal. And that we need to forgive ourselves that if we hear about these everyday superheroes, that your cape is going to look different. It's going to flap in a different way, but you need to do you, but that we really hope that you have the energy to at least be a part of it. Right? Awesome. Because whoa, everybody, you do you. Yay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. Yay, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe on iTunes and SoundCloud. And keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook and Twitter, and let us know what you think. Until next time, your story isn't over yet, and we want to hear it.